all the participants, colleagues, friends, and the chief guests and the faculty. I'm very glad that I have given a very wonderful opportunity to invite the guest onto the dais and speak some few words to introduce him to the gathering today evening. So we are the second day of Cura, and how's it doing? Is it good? Yeah, we have a very good speaker now. Anil Gupta sir is here, and we're going to have a very good inspirational address from him. So I would like to invite Anil Gupta sir onto the dais. Please, sir. So Sri Anil Gupta sir, CEO Lexus India. He's done his BE from Andhra University and Master of Design from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai, and MBA from ESCP, European School of Management, Paris. And Anil Gupta sir has 21 years of international work experience at senior management positions in manufacturing and information technology. He worked as Vice President in Capgemini Consulting, a global reputed information technology firm with operations in over 35 countries. From year 2004 to 2007, he has responsible for business development of offshore business in Europe. During his 10 years of Capgemini, he held diverse responsibilities. He had extensive travel through the globe and has lived in US, UK, and Europe. Earlier, he worked at Unilight Industries Limited as General Manager Technical, and he was responsible for new product development, vendor development, quality, and automation. He was also responsible for setting up 2 manufacturing plants. We are very glad that he is here. Thank you, sir, for being here. Your presence made a difference. So I would like to invite you to address the gathering, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Whatever your colleague read today, I just realized that my website needs to be updated. There's a lot of information and the dates are probably outdated now. So, yeah. Okay. Today, when I'm standing here, I was invited by Mrs. Padma. Thank you very much, madam, for giving me this opportunity. And I also thank you all for having taken the time to come and listen to what I have to say. I know that attention spans are reducing day by day. So it's going to be difficult for me to keep up to your expectations, but I'm going to do my best. Many years ago, maybe about 26 or 25 years ago, I used to be sitting in one of those places that you are sitting. So I can see and I can feel that moment, bright minds, with full of confidence and a lot of dreams. And I'm sure all of you have a lot of dreams. I too had some. Life was quite different. There was not so much of communication technology going on. There was much less information floating around the place. And the opportunities were far fewer than that are today. So probably in those days, what would have helped me if somebody gave me some inputs is what I was thinking, and are those inputs relevant to you? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some instances from my life and try to draw some conclusions from that, some lessons which I hope will be useful to you. So when I passed out of Industrial Design Center in 1989, I did a course called Masters in Design. In those days, that was the only place in India where you could do Masters in Design. There were only 10 industrial designers coming out in the whole of India. So you can imagine that all of us had a lot of opportunities. I could have gone to the United States of America, like many of my friends did, or I could have taken up a job in one of those big corporate companies, like the rest of them did. But I had a different plan for myself. I came back after finishing the course to meet my father. He was a small-time businessman. We used to have a sawmill in Visakhapatnam. There was not much focus on education in my family. Just because I was a good student, I just continued to study. So I came back to my father and I told him that, look, I've decided that I'm not going to go to the US. And I've also decided that I'm not going to take up a job in one of these big companies like L&T. So my father was a little bit a little angry, and also he was very much confused about what's going on in my mind. Because all his friends had told him that, look, now your son is going to go to the US. And that was not going to happen. So he was confused, so he asked me, look, what is it that you really want to do? So I told him that, look, my idea is ultimately to do some kind of a good level of business. So I don't want to go to an L&T kind of a company and become a design engineer where I would be doing designing for the next many years probably. I want to learn a lot. I want to learn about various aspects of business. So my idea is that I will go and join a small company rather than a big company. So my father liked the idea very much. Because he was a businessman, he felt, yes, I think it's a good idea that we were planning to go and learn about many aspects of business rather than just stick to one. So he said, just please go and do that. It's a good idea. But there was a small problem that these small companies would not pay me as much as probably L&T would. They would pay me about 50% or 60% of what I could expect from L&T. But surprisingly, he was very okay with that too. And what he told me that time had a very profound effect on me, and it has stuck in my mind since then. And that's what I want to share with you. He told me that, look, Anil, you don't have to worry about money. Go out there and do a great job, create great results, and you will get your dues. He gave me an example. He said, look, if there is gold out there, there is a certain value of gold. Nobody can deny that. If you want to sell gold, you will get that value. If you want to buy gold, you have to pay the value. Nobody can give you anything less or more for gold if it is gold. And if it is silver, you will probably get what's the value of silver. So the world is not a fool. They recognize gold, they recognize silver, and it's up to you to come up and show them that what you are. If they see you as gold, you will get your value as gold. So I immediately, that example was very, nice for me. I came back to work and I started to work in this company called Unilight. That was my first job. And it was a small company, it was a sick industry. Somebody had taken up a sick industry. They were making 80 suitcases a day. And there were a lot of things to be done to improve in that company. And obviously, they could not hire many people because there were constraints about money. And definitely they could not hire IITians. So I had an enormous opportunity over there that I could do and work on any area that I really wished to. And during that time, I started to work on a little bit on design, on improving production processes, improving the quality aspects, reducing the cost of what we were buying and so on, vendor development, making dies and molds and everything else. And within 1.5 years, we started to produce 1100 bags a day. It was amazing actually. And in a place like Mumbai, you do a lot of outsourcing and you combine some things and you somehow make this thing happen. So what happened during this time was that, number one, as was my goal, I learned a lot of different aspects of the business. Number two, that over this period of time, as we were slowly becoming better in our production and improving our output and so on, I was the youngest guy in that company. So, in the beginning, there was not much expectation from me, so I was allowed to make mistakes. So it was not that they're expecting me to be an expert, so I will do everything right. So, but I was making some mistakes, making some progress. But what they realized is that I'm willing to work and I'm willing to learn. And I was learning like a sponge, I was like a sponge over there, trying to get as much input as I could from anywhere I can. And every time I delivered something, there was a small transaction, the trust in me was going up, transaction by transaction. It was like small steps. My trust account was becoming wealthier in the eyes of the people that I was working with. So the net effect of all this was that by the time I completed 1.5 years, my salary was far higher than my colleagues and my peers in L&T or any other companies. And I was the only guy among my colleagues in India who was driving India's car, best car, Maruti 800, air conditioned. Okay, so that was the effect. So what did we learn from this actually? What is my message to you? Number one is that when you step out into the world now, life is long. Sometimes they say life is short, sometimes they say life is long. But the point is that there are many years ahead of us. There is no rush to earn money. Work to learn. When you work to learn, your intrinsic value goes up. When your intrinsic value goes up, then obviously you will get what you have to get. There is no need for you to worry about your salary or anything of that kind. You will get your worth. Nobody can deny it. The second thing is that while you are out there working to learn, and by the way, there's this very famous author called Guy Kawasaki. I don't know if you have heard of him. He's written a book which has sold like some billions of copies, and the name of the book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in that, the rich dad teaches his son that go and work to learn, don't worry about earning. Okay? And the poor dad tells the guy, go and take up a government job, you'll get a pension later on. Okay? So I think you have to go out and work to learn. Find the job that is close to your heart, aiming towards your goal. What is your goal? Is the job fitting your goal? If it fits your goal, it is something that you will love to do. And when you love to do something, you will automatically create good results. And results is what the world sees. They do not see your academics. They do not care a damn about who you are, whether you have done anything from IIT or not. That is only a license. It's just like a scooter driving license. If you have a license, you can ride the scooter. The police can't catch you. But that's not going to take you to be the fastest racer or something of that kind. For that you have to work. So when you are there, you have to create that worth while you're working. Second thing is that even if you're the most brilliant guy on earth, you can't do much unless people give you the opportunity. Okay, we are not artists, who can sit in one corner like M.F. Hussain and draw some pictures and sell it for some $1 million. Okay, so we have to work with people, and people will have to recognize our worth. So if people do not recognize your worth, you're not going to get what you have to get. So it's very important that as you are working to learn, creating results, you have to build trust among your environment. Trust on you that you are the guy who will deliver results. And the third important thing is that the only thing that matters is result. So keep your focus on creating results. The more higher level of results you can create, the more you will be rewarded in all respects. So this was one of the instances that I wanted to share. Then the second instance was that, during this time I spent about 4 or 5 years in this company, and I had some friends who used to work in the information technology area. In those days, information technology was not like what you see today, TCS was a very small company, even though it was still the most important company. Patni was one more company which was important, and there were hardly any more companies that I can even remember that were existing at that time. Now, I used to have friends from IIT who used to work in this, and we used to meet sometimes. And based on those discussions, I kind of got a feeling that in the future, IT is going to be big in India. It's going to be something that is something for the future. So, I wanted to work in IT. So, I asked some of my friends in TCS and Patni to help me to get an interview with their bosses. You know, having the IIT stamp, it was a little bit easier for me. With their help, I got a chance to meet the guys in TCS and Patni. Surprisingly, and it was not surprising actually, it was something that should have happened the way it happened. They told me, sorry, you can't get a job in information technology because number one, you don't know how to do any programming. Number two, you have no computer science background, so how the hell you think we can give you a job? And it was quite true, because if there was one job, there were some 200 people with the right qualification and experience waiting for the job. Why would they give me a chance? So I was a bit dejected, because I wanted to badly work in IT, and here are the two important companies, they wouldn't even give me a chance. So during that time, I was just thinking what I should do, and I was attending some kind of a leadership program or something like that. Then I suddenly got an idea that if nobody gives you a job, that doesn't mean that you don't do it. So I decided that I'm going to start my own IT company. So my wife also is from IIT Bombay. She had some little bit of experience in IT. So we both got together and we started a company to do interactive multimedia. We were one of the first few companies in India to do interactive multimedia. However, as it's not surprising to me now, we could not sustain it for too long. It was like 1.5, 2 years we kind of did that, lacking financial muscle, lacking the experience of doing this. So it was not going too well, and I decided to again take up a job. And now this time, within a week of me deciding to take up a job, I got a job in an IT company. Okay. And from there on, I continued to work in IT companies in various capacities. Now, what did I learn from this? The number one thing is that the world is out to give you some labels. As soon as you come out of a college, you are called an engineer, you are called an MBA, whatever it is, they are giving you a label. And this label has certain stereotype meaning behind it. So as soon as you say he's an engineer from IIT, then they have some 5 words in their mind. Engineer from NIT, 5 words in their mind. MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, they have some 5 words in their mind. So they are having some labels and some meanings associated with the labels. And if you want to fit into those labels, then you will get work according to their idea of the label. But I was not willing to be confined to labels. They told me that you can't do IT, and I was wondering, why can't I do IT? What's so difficult about it? So my advice to you, or the lesson that I learned from it, is that don't be confined to labels. When you start your job, you will do something, and then they'll start labeling you as a manufacturing guy or a marketing guy or some other guy, and it's like those, even in Hindi cinemas, and he's a character artist, he can't do any other role. Okay, he's a villain, he has to do villain roles only now. So it's very difficult to break out of the stereotypes, but if you have the confidence and the conviction that you really want to do something, then you have to break out of these labels. Because otherwise these labels will take you to where these labels go. If you are willing to go in that, if you just want to drift with those labels, it's fine. But if you really want to cut out your mold, then break out of these labels. And the second thing that I learned out of this experience was that I had no training in information technology or programming or anything of that kind. But what I learned is that, you can train yourself to do anything you want to do. Anything, absolutely. There are so many examples that are in front of us which tell us that you can do anything you want to do with training. I understand that, you must have seen this Milkha Singh movie, This guy had a dream that he will wear the national sports jacket of India and win this gold medal in the Olympics. And he finally did that. Of course, he had to work very hard, he had to plan his training, he had to do the training rigorously, and then he got there. Similarly, there is another example. Recently, I was watching a very inspiring video of a volleyball player, a lady called Anurina Sinha. She was thrown out of her train when she was approaching Delhi station because some thugs wanted to loot her bags, and then she fell off the bridge, and one of her legs was totally cut off, amputated. The other leg was like broken into pieces, and she was lying in the hospital, and all her family and friends told her that, look, now it's over, forget it, we'll go back to the village, we'll somehow get you settled, and you will relax, you don't worry about life, we'll take care of it and all that, will help you. But she was not going to give up. She said that, look, that's not my goal, I'm not going to go to the village. I am going to climb the Mount Everest. And you must watch that video. Within 2 years from the day she was lying with 1.5 legs in AIIMS hospital, within 2 years she reached the Mount Everest. And even for a normal guy like me or you, it's an unimaginable task to get onto Mount Everest, but what can you do with 1.5 legs? She did it. So how did she do that actually? It's all about training. So if you have a goal in life, and if you are here and your goal is here, then all you need to think at that time is that what are the skills that what you will need to be at that level of the goal, and you'll know the gap between your current skill levels and the skill that you need to have to be reaching the goals. And if you then make a training plan and get the right kind of training, you will reach the goal. So all human beings can train themselves to reach whatever goals we want to. Lions, for example, they can't train themselves. They have to, as soon as they are born with claws and things, they start hunting, they eating, and then they pass their life doing routine things, They don't need any training. No animals need any training to live the life. But human beings can do nothing without training. When we are born, we know nothing. And then we slowly train ourselves to do whatever we want to do. And you are here for training. So this training is going to get you somewhere. Now, is that going to get to your goal? Is there something else you need to train yourself about? That is the important thing that you need to really think about. And as you are going into organizations, in this digital age, life is going to be far more difficult than it used to be probably for us, because all the information that is available today will probably become redundant in 2, 3, 4 years' time. What are you going to do? If you learned about marketing, if I learned about marketing in my MBA, that's not valid anymore, because that kind of marketing is not what works today. People are not buying in the same manner in which they used to buy 10 years ago. So you have to learn new things. So learning is the key. In the future, learning to learn is going to be the most important aspect of your skill level. Because the faster you learn, the better results you will be able to create, and the faster you will be moving towards your goal. So learning to learn will be the key issue in the future. And as you do this in organizations, you are learning and you are working hard and all that stuff. We have to remember that, you by yourself cannot achieve much. You need teams to achieve. So you have to be a team player. And as you get into your first jobs immediately after this college, you should proactively work in teams. Learn what it means to be a part of a team member, because one day you will also be a leader. And by then you should have learned how to motivate teams, how to get them energized, and that you can do only by learning to work in teams. Finally, what we have to remember is that, of course, you have to be good at what you do. But what is even more important is that people agree that you are good. Because if they do not, then you will not have their trust. You will not get opportunities that you need to get to employ your skills. If you don't get opportunities, it will be a big struggle. So, while you learn, work on creating trust and get that image that you are a trustworthy guy committed to creating results. That's all I had to say now, and I hope this was going to be useful to you. Thank you.
So, like you told about learning and all those things. Sir, what should we do? Like, if we are learning, we are right now in two aspects in engineering, and we have to see how our future is also going to be. So, when you are shaping your future, because it's right now important, you should know what you are going to be from 5 years from now or from 10 years from now. It should be there. So, how to learn and like what we take as a guide, because if we want to come into the field of business, as you said, sir. So, for that purpose, we have to have some core values of business, and we are not being guided in that way. So, what should we do so that we can guide ourselves or train ourselves by that, like by coming into that core value?
The thing is that you don't have to have anything actually. Okay. All you need to have is a goal. If you are really passionate about your goal and clear about your goal, okay, then what happens in your mind? As soon as you are very clear that you have to get there, See, there are two things actually. One is that, there is a goal and then there is something called a wish. There is a difference between a goal and a wish, A goal means, like, if you put it in a simple way, a goal means like, I have to reach Delhi tomorrow 5 o'clock, by tomorrow 5 o'clock. That's a goal. Okay. And a wish could be that, oh, I wish I was in Delhi now. Now, that's not going to be happening, right? But if you are very clear that you need to get to Delhi by 5 o'clock tomorrow, then you will immediately know what to do. Right? So, the most important thing is that you have to define your goal. And defining a goal is not so easy. So, you need to find people around you and talk to them about your goal. Like, this is what I want to do. Some people say, come on, it's never going to happen. Some people will support you. Some will give you some ideas. They will help you to clarify your goal. Once your goal is clarified, like I said, if your goal is, you need certain skills to be reaching that goal, and if you are here today, then you will automatically know what are the skills that you are missing to reach your goal. And then you have to create a training plan of what you need to do to reach the goal. So, for example, you might want to just go and work in an organization which is going to take you a couple of steps forward towards your goal. Or you might want to go and do another course. Whatever it means. So, most often what happens is that when we are out of college, of course we have a lot of different capabilities, right? Okay. And we can do this also, and we can do that also, and we can do that also. It's like, there are so many opportunities, but now when we start our education, the whole purpose of education is to create a lot of different opportunities for you. And then at the end of education, we are supposed to narrow down into working on something specific, right? Now that choice is the key. That choice is the risk that you have to take. So you have to take a choice that I'm going to work and develop in this area and to reach a point in of this place in so many years. Something like that. You have to have a very specific goal, and then you will know exactly, once you are able to write that goal down, then you will know exactly what you need to do as step 1, step 2 to get there. Of course, life is not like a linear path. There will be some changes in the course, and also your idea of your goal also will change after a few years probably. But that's okay. At least at all points in time, you have to have a clear goal, and you have to keep reevaluating your goal. Okay, is this still my goal? Do I need to change it a little bit? What is it? I think that's the thing. I don't know if my answer satisfies you or not.
It's up to the mark, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. See, just to build on this, my goal always was to kind of create a brand, something that I can be proud of, a kind of a big business. So even though I worked for 25 years in different organizations, I always worked as an entrepreneur. Even though it was a salaried job, but I never worked like a salaried job in the conventional sense. So, after many years of working, today I have started this Luxus India Private Limited, which is a European collaboration company to make furniture. So what happens is when you are working as an entrepreneur is that, how does the entrepreneur think actually? Okay, whether you are working in a job or you are working for your own organization, you have to practice entrepreneurship. So what does the entrepreneur do? First of all, he is always thinking of profits. Okay, how can I maximize? Second thing is that he is always thinking solutions. He is not thinking about, he is not being constrained by problems, There are going to be many problems, but as soon as there is a problem, he is starting to think about solutions. Some he can solve, some he has to get some help from outside, but he is always thinking solutions. And the third is that he is always thinking teams. So I think since you are management students, it would be wise to think like entrepreneurs. Whether you start your company or not is not important. Any other question?
Whether we have been set for goals for a short time or for a long time or for a medium time, whether we achieve that goals in a short time. Most of them we are planning for the short term goals, but we are not planning for the long term goals. And as part of mine, I was thinking we should have to think out of the box for any solution or for any problem. We should have to think about out of the box in any organization to achieve that those organization goals. Is it helpful for us to think out of the box for any solution or for any problem in making that question in a symptomatic
Yeah.
simple way?
So
Request for us.
I think you have asked two questions. One is that should we think out of the box, and the other is that I don't know if your question was should we plan long term or short term or medium term, right? See, the first question about thinking out of the box, like Einstein said, I think if I remember correctly, that you can't solve a problem from the place where you created the problem. Okay, because if you are thinking from the same position as where the problem was created, then you are thinking within the constraints of the problem. So you have to take a step back and see what are the other kind of solutions that are available to solve this problem. And probably sometimes the problem itself is not a problem. I mean, do we need to solve this problem? You could even ask a question, do I need to really solve this problem? You could simply say this is not a problem, and just throw it out of the window. So you have to think out of the box to come up with something that is innovative. And the second thing is about long term, short term and all that stuff. The long term thing is very difficult. We can think long term, but we have to act short term. Long term is a direction, but we have to create results in the short term, because when we create results in the short term, we are able to propel ourselves towards the long term. So you can't think long term and not create any results in the short term. So you have to, of course, think long term, because there is a direction that we need, and the direction might change after some years when you reevaluate your goals, but short term results are also very important.
Sir, often when we are at this age, and sir, as you told, when you were taking a decision and you told your father, I'm not going to US and I'm not going to take a job at L&T. At that time, L&T was one of the bigger company. So you take a decision, sir. You made a decision and you didn't ask your father for permission, but you announced him that what you are, in a way you announced him, or you told him in a decent manner that this is what I'm going to do, and he listened to you, you told him in a better manner and explained what you are up to. It's your vision, you explained it. So that was your confidence, sir, at that time. So many times, even when I face my, personally I face this problem many times, that we are not able to make decisions. Even though we are plus 8, like we can say we have crossed 18, now we are approaching 21, and then we have voting rights and everything, but we are not able to make decisions for ourselves or for what we are up to in our life, whether it's study, whether it's future, whether it's career. And what we do is we seek advice. We seek many people's advice, okay? But at the end, all things go in a mesh or in a confusion. So, sir, what should we do? Like, you took a decision, but sir, how to direct ourselves or guide ourselves so that we can also be able to take like stiff decisions? Because at that point of time, sir, when you took a decision that I'm not going to US, you didn't thought of society, you didn't thought of what people will say, what your parents will think, but you thought of only one thing, that what you are up to in the upcoming future. So, sir, how to develop that kind of thinking? Because
Yeah, I understand what you say. So the question is that, we are not able to take decisions. We are taking a lot of advice. We are getting confused. Then what is the way by which we can actually take good decisions? Is that the question? So actually, see, decision making is some kind of a practice actually. Decision making is a practice. You have to practice taking decisions. Taking small decisions and seeing the result of that. Evaluating whether your decision making is doing well or not. Of course, we all need to take advice from people. That's why we need mentors. We have to choose our mentors. And that's why you will find that nowadays, there's a lot of talk about entrepreneurship and mentorship and all that stuff. So in those days, my father was my mentor, for example, okay? And you have to understand that there are two types of people on this earth that okay? If I may classify them. One kind of person is what are people who you can go to safely and talk about anything actually. They are like your safety network. So you can go and talk to them about any idea, any decision, anything very safely, and they will give you a good listening and they'll give you some good advice, that. So we have to identify those kind of people who we can trust to go and talk about our aspirations, our ideas, our decisions, or so, whatever. These people, they will challenge you. They will force you to think through your decision. So, in the case of myself, when I told my father whatever I told him, okay, he asked me a couple of questions. He wanted to be sure that I'm sure of what I'm going to do. And when he was sure that, okay, I have a clear idea of what I want to do, he said, good, do it. So take advice, but you have to finally take the final decision about what you have to do. You have to take responsibility for the decision. If something would have gone wrong, I can't say that, oh, my father didn't tell me this, right? So you have to finally decide. It's a difficult thing to do, and you have to start practicing decision making in small ways every day. Take some small risky decisions and see how it works for you. There is no formula that I know of by which you can say this is the way to do it.
So we design our strategy according to the market's requirement, presently, or future, or long term, or short term, whatever it may be. But market is continuously changing its dimensions. So deriving every time a solution to the problem which is caused due to the changes in the dimensions, it's very big deal. We cannot every time go and deal with the problem, because we have a goal which is mainly for us, like a startup which is based on arts, a startup which is based on might be a t-shirts company. So like that, how to face these kind of problem.
Okay, see, it's very funny actually, but you can read a lot about it on the internet as well. That look, whatever may be your idea for the startup, be prepared to change that plan. Because when we start up something, we are infatuated by the idea. Of course, we do it with a lot of intention, and we do a lot of calculations and everything else. But a startup is always something that is not probably happened earlier. There are no examples like something that has worked 100 times before in the same field that you are doing, right? So obviously there are no straitjacket ways to reach success in that. So when you start, you have to be prepared that the market will actually teach you how your startup should progress. So if you are not willing to, well, there is no question of not willing to, means you have to be willing to adapt once you have started. The idea that you exactly started may not be the idea that you will finally land up with to make success. You will have to continuously adapt. And that is the entrepreneurial spirit actually. A startup is not just a marketing idea or something that because of which it is becoming successful. It is that entrepreneur in you that is actually continuously adapting to the market scenarios, combining your strengths to deliver the best that you can to the market. That is what creates a success. So you have to constantly keep evaluating your resources, your strengths, your weaknesses, and what the market demands and how we can fit all the stuff that we have to deliver to the market. And if you can do it fast, that creates success.
If the idea is, if the startup idea is good, it may turn into a very good evaluation, like Facebook, WhatsApp, and all the others. But if the idea is not, so many startups are not completely turning up into the full-fledged business ideas, full-fledged marketing strategies. So what about those?
Yeah, we are talking about Facebook and all that stuff because there are many better ideas also than Facebook probably which have not made it to known to us. Because the thing is that the power to sustain is the key to success. It's not just that marketing idea. Even Facebook is evolving. So what happens is that there are so many ideas that could have been even better than Facebook probably, I do not know. But we have so many such examples, if you go on the Google and search for them, that things that were not projected well, people who could not sustain till the idea caught on in the market and then they failed. It was not because the idea was not good. The reasons for failure is not only the case of an idea, or the reason for success is also not only that it's a great idea. You need a good idea and then you need the ability to sustain and adapt. And that combination is actually what makes success.
Can we have your suggestion on that? Because I would like to know, the same market which has given complete future for Facebook has killed the future of other companies.
Yeah.
So what do the other companies, what is your suggestion for them?
Well, I'm not an expert on Facebook or such things, but we know that Oakroot failed and so many other such networking solutions failed actually. What I feel is that one of the most important thing is the ability to sustain. Somehow Facebook still made a loss for many years, but still they sustained. Amazon made a loss for many years, and I'm not sure if they are now making any good profit, but they they succeed now because they are able to sustain. Flipkart is still making a lot of loss, but they are going great guns because they are able to sustain so far. Tomorrow if they don't sustain, then all the great idea that Flipkart has probably will be of no use. So I think when we are starting a startup, if you think that you can do this business with, let's say, 100 rupees, okay, and you must be sure that it's not going to happen in that 100 rupees, okay. You probably need to be sure somehow that if you need to get in another 200 rupees, you will have to get in, because sustenance will be an important issue. Your idea will not exactly take off the way you have designed it or thought it would do so. So you have to plan for sustainability. And during the period of sustainability, you will know what will actually work and what's not going to work. And that will give you the time to adjust your strategy for success. But if you're not prepared for sustainability, then I think even great ideas will have to be abandoned. Okay, thanks for your patient hearing.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable lecture. Let me invite Dr. Padma to hand over a small memento as token of appreciation to Gupta ji. We had a great entrepreneur who has made through entire session very lively. And we have, as a faculties, we have a lot of limitations what we can do in a classroom. So the management event is really doing a lot of filling the gap. We had very good series of lectures. Now we had an entrepreneur from the day one, and he has explained to you how it is successful. He made the session very clear. So I'll thank our audience for patient learning. I'll invite the ma'am for the next session.
Talking about Anil Gupta sir's experience and his valuable the valuable moments he shared with us was very unique, I can say, about decision making, about how he came up with the things, and how to be how to take yourself, okay, from a common person, from grassroots line, and from ground level. You are just taking yourself up and up, facing failures, okay, and keeping one thing in yourself. One important thing which I learned and will follow from now is, whatever you are doing, do the best. And he held himself like an entrepreneur. He held himself like a CEO of a organization wherever he worked, as an employee or whether it's his own organization. So doing your best is the main thing. Thinking about results is later on. Having guts is very important, which he told in his when he was conveying, sharing us the moments. So he showed that important is having guts of whatever is going on. Talking to his father, and then everything what he shared, what he wanted to do, taking decisions, it needs guts, sir. And definitely, it was a very big message for us. Thanks to Cura team for bringing Anil K. Gupta ji here.
It was really inspiring. We loved their stories, the journey, the motive, the zeal with which they spoke was really good. We really feel energized.
We enjoyed a lot from this fest, from these motivation speakers. Thank you so much.